It's time for us to have a TikTok.
I was told about the video.
Okay, so there comes a point when we have to have a TikTok, and this is it. This is the black-legged tick. It's a deer tick. Who has had a deer tick on them? Yay! We're part of an exclusive club. It's not that exclusive. They're Ixodes scapularis. So what is the genus for these things? Ixodes or scapularis?
Ixodes.
Ixodes. Yeah, this is the genus. That's the species. We also call them deer ticks. We also call them black-legged deer ticks, which is total overkill. Let's cram every name we have for them in there. And they are a teeny little arachnid parasite. So arachnids are not the same as insects. They are invertebrates. Spiders are one type of arachnid. Ticks are an arachnid. Scorpions are an arachnid.
I don't like spiders.
I do. So arachnids have an exoskeleton. They have 2 body segments and they have 8 legs. And they're here. Get used to it. And they're parasites. So parasites are organisms that make a living taking things from other organisms, but not killing them outright. So the tick is who here has actually had a tick feed on them, get a whole belly full of blood? Okay. Did it kill you? No. It's a little bit of blood. Come on, you're fine. You can do without it. I still pulled ticks off me. Well, that's a whole, it's not the tick though. The tick didn't kill you. The tick didn't kill you. Let's not go blaming these poor defenseless little invertebrates. You know, come on, you bully. Black-legged ticks prey on mammals and some birds. There's a little bit of bird prey in there. And they suck blood, you knew that. They have a multi-stage, multi-year life cycle. And when we say life cycle, you all came into this world looking like a tiny version of a human being. You had the same number of arms and legs as you do now, same number of eyes as you do now, same entrance and exit as you do now. All of that was the same. With things that have complicated life cycles, they very often look different in one part of their life to another. So ticks and insects both very often have multi-stage life cycles. If you think about butterflies, they start off as eggs, and then they're caterpillars, and then they go into a pupa, and then they emerge. Woo, and they look very different. Ticks don't look that different, but they do have a complicated life cycle. This tick is native to the eastern U.S. There's another species, there's another Ixodes species in the west. And I said Ioxid for years, and I know it's wrong, but Ixodes sounds so weird to me. And you said the tick might kill you. Well, it's not the tick, but the tick is a vector for a bunch of diseases. And when we say vector, it isn't sick, and it isn't the disease, but it transmits the diseases. So sneezing is a vector for the common cold. In terms, that's a vector of transmission. Ticks are a vector of transmission. It's how the disease gets around. And these guys transmit not only Lyme, babesiosis, HGA. The bigger wood ticks transmit Rocky Mountain spotted fever. And there's that new Asian tick that transmits something which gives you a meat allergy for life, and you can never eat red meat again. Red star tick. Okay, so anyway, yeah, a lot of tick species are vectors for a lot of diseases. That said, let's talk about the life cycle of the Ixodes scapularis. By the way, that's a dime for size comparison. That's a larval tick. That's the letter M on a dime. Oh. I dare you to find one of those crawl on you. I actually have seen them crawling on me. But they're tiny and they're low to the ground. These things hatch out in the spring, early summer. I find that like April, May is peak tick season. And who here has finished a hard workout or whatever and been just starving? Teenagers always are. these ticks hatch out starving. They are hungry immediately. So they hatch and they jump on the first small mammal they find and they feed. And usually the mammals that they get are mice. Sometimes it's small birds that scratch around in leaf litter on the forest floor, looking for bugs. Will very often get little ticks on them, and those ticks will suck their blood. So once they feed, they molt. What does molt mean?
Shedding.
They shed their outer skin, they grow a new one, and they get bigger and they turn into nymphs. But that takes a blood meal. That requires a blood meal to do that. So, I love this picture. Anybody feeling itchy yet? Nymphs go dormant. So once they hatch into nymphs, they go dormant, and they're sleeping essentially. They're in sort of suspended animation for half a year. In the spring, they wake up, and guess what? They're hungry. They wake up starving. They try to find a host, and they take a blood meal, and this can be any kind of mammal. So this could be you, a squirrel, a dog, another mouse. It varies. What they can find, but they have to get that blood meal. Once they get the blood meal, they molt again. They turn into adults. Now the adult females need a big host, and they seek out large hosts. And all of these have got those carbon dioxide sensors. They can actually sense carbon dioxide coming off of your body, and that's how they find their prey. So the adult females host, eat blood from something big, a deer. Then they drop off. When they drop off, they look like this. And it's really hard to see in the picture. She's got 6 little tiny legs up there. And there's a little tiny hole in between her legs called a gonopore. Gono, does that sound like any word you know? Gonads, reproductive organs.
Balls.
A pore, well no, gonads refers to reproductive organs in general, so not just testicles. Gonads are any type of reproductive organ. So a pore is a little opening. Look at your hand. Do you see your pores? Of course you do. Some of you don't even want to play along with me. Fine. So the gonopore is a little tiny opening that the sperm gets inserted into. So the adult males do attach to a host, but they don't bite you. And they just climb up on the female. They transmit their sperm packet into her gonopore, and then they die. It's pretty anticlimactic. I have a video, and if you search on YouTube for tick reproduction, this is the first hit. It's got a green background. So looking at this graphic, critical thinking, how many seasons do larvae live through? Yeah, 1. Because they hatch here, coming into their first summer, and they're larvae for a summer, and then they take a blood meal and they transform. How many seasons do nymphs live through? Yeah, 3.5, 4. Because they go through this whole fall and winter dormant. They wake up in the spring. They find a blood meal. Somewhere halfway through that first summer as nymphs, they hatch into adults. And then the adults have about a half a year. So the real critical thinking question is this. Do not answer this. We're going to talk more about it tomorrow because we have to meet our third actor in our little play. The one that connects some of the other ones or starts to. Which life stages do you think pick up the bacteria that causes Lyme? Where do you think they get infected with the Lyme disease? They're not born with it. The eggs don't have Lyme bacteria in them. Where do they pick up the Lyme disease? And we will talk more about that. Okay, so the last things I want to talk with you about are range. So note that this is an eastern species, and up here is the little range map. That's from CDC. There's another species of deer tick out west, so you're not safe out west. And there are other Ixodes ticks, like the sheep tick in Britain, all over the planet. Here's the thing. Have I mentioned that ticks dig me? I'm a tick magnet. When I was in high school, and I spent lots of time in the woods, I spent lots of time in fields, I spent lots of time running through vegetation, I never once had a deer tick. I had tons of wood ticks. And good Lord, I was like a little tick-infested mutt. I don't know. And I'm sure my daughter will be the same way. But I never saw a deer tick. I saw my first deer tick, I was in my 20s. I was backpacking in the Alleghenies, and I came home, and I got in the shower, and I went to scrub my arm, and I was like, that's a weird freckle. Wait a minute, that's a scab. That's not a scab. It was a deer tick. It was my first deer tick. I remember it very well. And that was after the year 2000. Yeah, y'all starting to itch now? So if you look at Ohio this is 1998, how many counties report any deer ticks?
One.
Yeah, a couple. A few down here, one there. Not many, though. And the blue is established populations. The red is established, the blue is reported. So like the blue, if I had gone to the Alleghenies and come home with a deer tick and called my health department and said, I have a deer tick on me, they would have a reported incident, but it doesn't mean we got it in the county. Now let's look at 2015. Check that out. See a difference?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is all now deer tick country. This is all deer tick country, and it didn't used to be. So here's the question we're going to leave you with for tomorrow. Why are we seeing a change in deer tick populations? And you can start brainstorming on this. Tomorrow when you come in, we're going to kind of brainstorm some of this, and then you're going to take a recall quiz on ticks before we introduce the fourth actor in our little play. Questions, comments?